'Twas the night before. Nah, I'm just kidding. Uh, so this is a book I've been trying to work on for like about 4 years or so now. I know it's way too long of a time for writing a book, but I am planning on starting back up on it again to get it published. But the book series is called Angel's Gaiden, and Gaiden meaning Chronicles in Japanese. I wanted to kind of combine the English and Japanese language just because I thought that would be kind of neat. The title of this book, though, is called Birth, and the chapter I'm reading, the first one, is called The Birth. So, yeah, here we go. June 15th, 2010. A teenage boy walked through the bright halls of the large high school. This was a normal boy who lived a normal life, went to a normal school, and did normal things, just as any other teenager, minus the partying and the booze. The only thing that made him stick out from a crowd were his deep-set brown eyes that made him look as if he were angry all the time, and his chin-length brown hair, lack of muscle, and his tall height. He unintentionally frightened people whenever they would look at him. It was something he always hated. He wondered how people could judge so quickly, because if they actually got a chance to know him, they would see the kindness and the heart he had. But that is not the only thing he had inside him. There was a part of him that wasn't normal, a part he didn't know he had, a part of him that would change his life forever, a part that would forever make him a beloved hero. He had on his favorite Dio t-shirt that was all black with the band's name in bright red font. On his legs, he wore his usual dark blue jeans, and on his feet, his green and black skate shoes. "Hey, Cloukora," another teenage boy jogged up to him. He was never sure why his parents chose that name. He always assumed it was a random name they came up with. He once searched the name on the internet, but found nothing. It wasn't a part of any foreign language. "Sup, Jake," Cloukora replied. Jake Levner had been his friend since freshman year, the term being used loosely. During the school years, they hung out a lot and went to a few parties, but whenever summer hit, they wouldn't say a single word to each other. Jake stood a couple inches shorter than Cloukora, but had a lot more muscle on him, which he used to his advantage on the school's wrestling team. He had short, blonde hair, blue eyes, and was overall an ass sometimes. He was essentially the opposite of Cloukora. "You did your algebra final yesterday, right?" "Yeah, it was easy," Cloukora said, as if algebra should be something everyone knew how to do. "Man, that shit was hard. I just don't get how to find X." "Really? That's the trouble you have with it?" "Hey, not everyone has the same intelligence." "I suppose that's true." "Can you believe it, though? Next year we're going to be seniors. All the women will be all over us and we'll finally get laid." He looked at Cloukora. "Well, at least I will. I don't know about you." "Probably not. I don't even care for sex anyways. It's not really that important to me." "Bullshit. Every guy wants it. You just won't admit it." Cloukora laughed. "Seriously though, I got more important things to worry about, like what college I'm going to and what I'll major in." Mr. Skyrell, a teacher they walked past, was just locking his classroom door before turning to face them. Cloukora stopped mid-walk and turned his attention towards the man. "What's up, Mr. Fa?" "I just wanted to say again that your report on eukaryotes and the difference between mitosis and meiosis was just perfect. Quite a few students had been getting them mixed up, and I think the way you explained it made them understand it a little bit more. In fact, I may use part of your speech for my future lectures." The man chuckled. "I mean, if that's all right with you." Yeah, sure, I don't care. He shrugged his shoulders. At least it can get put to some use. It was Cloukora's turn to chuckle. Alright, well, I'll leave you two be now. Have a great summer, kids. Mr. Faw walked off down the hallway towards the doors at the inn. Jake continued on as if nothing had just happened. Dude, you're not even a senior yet. Chill out. Those things will come to you eventually. Oh, hey, speaking of chill, there's a party tonight at Amanda's house. You coming? Nah, I got my mom's wedding. Ah, shit, that's right. They both walked out the school doors into the hot and sunny outside. It's where they always went for lunch, though Cloukora never understood why there was even lunch that day when there was only half of a day of school. I feel sorry for your stepdad. Jake, not every marriage is as bad as some people make it sound. Sure, whatever you tell yourself. Cloukora only shook his head. They sat down on a bench and bullshitted for a while until the bell rang and they headed towards their next classes. Cloukora's being on the other side of the school, and if he didn't hurry, he would be late for it. As Jake split off towards his class, Cloukora began to feel dizzy and lightheaded and started to walk into a trance, unaware of where he was going or how slow he was moving. It wasn't until the hallways were empty he snapped out of it and realized he was even further from his class. Suddenly, he felt something lump in his throat, causing him to rush to the nearest bathroom to open up his stall and put his head over the toilet. But instead of vomit, he coughed up blood. His body felt like it was on fire, and he could feel the sweat dampening his clothes. After a couple of breaths, he was calm again, and the dizziness went away. But as he looked up into the chrome flush handle, he saw a bright green color in place of his originally brown eyes. He quickly backed out of the stall and paced out of the bathroom. I'm hallucinating. It's stress coming from tonight. It has to be. Someone walked past him into the bathroom and let out an, sick, someone got blood all over the toilet seat. But Cloukora ignored it and kept walking towards his class, the last one of the day. After that, he would be in his cozy home, getting ready for tonight. I'm gonna be fine. Cloukora was bent over next to a hallway wall, trying to keep his breathing normal and calm down. It wasn't completely working. He was way too nervous. He was getting worried sweat might soak through his black tux. Hey, Cloukora, are you ready? We're about to go up there, said his bandmate as he walked up to him. You alright? Yeah, I'm fine. Just, last-minute jitters is all, Cloukora replied as earlier swarmed into his mind. The blood. His eyes. What was happening to him? Well, just relax. You'll do fine, he replied. You won't mess this up. It's their wedding, and what if I forget the lyrics? What if I... Don't worry. You'll be fine, he assured Cloukora. Man, you're supposed to be our band leader, and you're freaking out more than anyone else, he joked. You're right. I should calm down and take a deep breath. There's nothing to be afraid of. He took a deep breath and stood up. Alright, I'll go introduce us. Cloukora patted his friend on his shoulder, came out of the hallway, and got up on the little stage where all the instruments were set up along with the piano. The church's main hall was brightly lit, as bright as a church can get, that is. The usual pews were replaced by white cloth tables with vases of flowers in the center, and people sitting around those tables. The men were dressed in black tuxedos, some without bows tied around their necks, and the women wore a variety of dresses that differed in color, tightness, design, and material. The wearers made sure that the dress was fancy enough for the occasion, but not too fancy that it would look better than the bride's dress. Everyone now had their eyes on him. He struggled with the words a little before speaking. Alright, I have a special surprise for the bride and groom, also known as my mom and stepdad. But first, I'd like to say a few words. I know you all think it's tough with my parents being divorced, but it really doesn't bother me that much. I do love my biological father, but, what happens, happens, and you can't change that. Jack is a good man, and a good father. I wouldn't want any other stepfather than him. Anyways, to help me out, here's my good friend Paul. Paul joined him on the stage and sat behind the piano placed there. Mom, when you and Jack got together, I knew you two were perfect for each other. I knew you would last and eventually get married. And when I heard you were, I really wanted to do something for you guys. And so, I decided to sing a song. A song you should know, since it's your song. I just hope I can do it justice. Paul, hit it. Paul started playing a few keys on the piano, and then Cloukora began to sing. Alright, I'm really not going to sing this because I haven't even actually got a rhythm down for it, so I'm just going to read it. As I dream the night away, I lie in the darkness and wish I could relive today, seeing you in that red dress. We had met at that dance, and when I saw your face, I knew I had to take the chance you'd even put up a chase. We ditched the losers and headed to the field to lie on the hood of my cruiser. I told you I'd be your shield. We kissed under the moonlight and we held each other all through the night until you had to leave to your mother. All I want is for you to be mine all the way until the end of time. I swear I am losing my mind because I wish you were mine. We might be called crazy and sick in the head, but our love is far from hazy, and I wish you were in this bed. We have connected hearts, and our love is bleeding. We are two parts that are now meeting. We just want happiness and to be together, you in that red dress and me in this jacket of leather. I won't ever leave your side, and you can squeeze my hand, because I know life is a roller coaster ride, high above the land. All I want is for you to be mine, all the way until the end of time. I swear I am losing my mind, because I wish you were mine, because I wish you were mine. After the last few notes were finished, everyone began clapping. He swept a bow and walked off the stage towards the table where his mom, stepdad, and the rest of his family had been sitting. So, what'd you think? It was terrible, Jack replied jokingly and got a nudge from Cloukora's mom. Just messing with you. It was awesome. Thank you. Jack, his stepfather was about an inch taller than Cloukora and was way more fit, too. He had dark brown eyes, and his face was a 5 o'clock shadow that met with his short black hair. I thought it was sweet and thoughtful. Thank you, his mom said. His mother, Laurel, was a short but still slim woman besides a large bulge in her dress from the baby she carried inside her. Her eyes were brown, as was her long brown hair flowing down to her white strapless wedding dress, and she wore a smile that could light up an entire room. I didn't even know you could sing, his oldest younger sister, Alyssa, remarked. She was tall for a would-be high school freshman, and she had dirty blonde hair and dark brown eyes. Yeah, that was amazing, but Jerry's star is still better, his other younger sister said. That comment was expected of Haley, since she was, after all, going into her second year of middle school. Her hair was dark brown, and she had green eyes that she inherited from some aunt a couple generations ago. Both girls were wearing identical dresses, silk spaghetti-strap dress with a peach tint. Are you going to be famous? Asked his 7-year-old brother, Mark. Mark would always ask silly questions like that, because he knew it'd always get a smile or a laugh out of people. Cloukora always thought of him as a shorter version of himself, which was probably true, because Mark had always looked up to him and wanted to be just like Cloukora. He was a bit on the short side, had light brown hair and brown eyes. Just like every other male in the room, he wore a black tux that had been tailored to fit his size. Cloukora laughed. Nah, that was only a one-time thing. I'll probably never sing again. Plus, I don't think my voice was that good anyways. I just can't get my pitch to change, he said, gesturing to his throat. Aww. Hey, you two, congratulations on the wedding and the baby. a family friend said to the newlyweds as they passed by. Thank you, his parents said at the same time. Hey, Cloukora, the voice came from his uncle walking up to the table, and Cloukora turned to face him. I was going to go outside for a quick smoke, but your grandfather doesn't feel like going out there, and I like to talk while I'm smoking, so I was wondering if you'd want to step out with me. His uncle was tall, just as he was, and he had short, jet black hair, a clean-shaven face, and dark brown eyes. Yeah, sure. I'll be back in a minute, he said as he glanced over his shoulder to the table. They both walked out the door of the brightly lit room and out into the cool night and leaned against the wall of the church. Cars passed by on the lively streets as quick as they could go, which wasn't very fast since they were in the city and all. Cloukora figured most of them were probably going to party with their friends around the city. Friends, something he wished he had. Sure, he had Paul and Jake and a few other people, but none of them wanted to hang out during after-school hours. Paul was only there tonight because he was getting paid for it. Those were thoughts he tried not to dwell on long, though. It wouldn't be healthy to make himself be depressed. There's something I need to tell you, his uncle finally said, snapping Cloukora out of his trance. Like what? He was unsure what his uncle was going to say. And then this is like thoughts in Cloukora's head. I don't know how to separate it from the talk to you guys. So, oh no, am I adopted? Am I being sent off somewhere? Ah, shit, he's not dying, is he? And thought, you see, your family, there's more to it than you know. We're a bit different from everyone else. What do you mean? I can't explain just yet. I don't think you're ready. But I do have something for you. He pulled out a silver chain with a pendant shaped like 3 triangles, forming a bigger triangle that had a small circle on each of the 3 sides and a small triangle on each point. This should help you. But before he could hand it to him, Cloukora took notice of a burning smell in the air. Wait, is that smoke? He turned to look around to see a building on fire down the street a few blocks down, and immediately felt compelled to run off to help. Wait, Cloukora, wait! It was too late. He was already out of earshot. The old brick building was engulfed in flames, and wooden planks could be seen falling through the roof and ceilings inside. My baby's in there, shouted a woman nearby. Typical. There's always someone trapped. Before even thinking it over, he ran inside and tried looking for the baby as quickly as he could. Inside the building, some of the flames burned brightly, so bright that they made Cloukora have to cover his eyes. The heat began to make him sweat, and the smoke started to fill his lungs and cause him to cough and his eyes to water. He needed to hurry and find the kid before this place killed him. Dodging the falling debris and wood, he moved swiftly, checking each room on the first floor. One room he almost ran into, but then he somehow knew the roof would collapse due to the burning rate of the flames, the strength of the wood, and the estimated weight on the next floor. All the calculations went through his head in an instant. How? He didn't know. It just happened. Not pondering the reason any longer, he turned as the ceiling in the room fell and ran as carefully as he could up the stairs until he got to the 4th floor and heard a scream. Don't worry, I'll help you. Stay where you are, he yelled back. Running down the hall, he searched every room until he found one with a little girl huddled in the corner. But as he tried to go through the doorway, some of the roof caved in front of him. The debris was too hot to try and dig through. This was it. There was no other way for him to get through. That girl in there would die, and then him not too long if he didn't make it out in time. If he did make it, he would have to face her parents and look them in the eye to tell them that he couldn't save their daughter. And then, open thought, why wasn't I quick enough? Why couldn't I save her? And thought, His fist clenched, his heart beat faster, and he began to feel hotter, not by the heat of the flames, but from his adrenaline beginning to pump rapidly through his veins. He felt like he could break down a wall or run a mile without breaking a single sweat. Then he felt his hand get hot, and when he looked down, he couldn't believe what the source was. He was holding in his hands a scimitar surrounded in flames. An etching of a flame was melded just above the handguard on the steel of the blade. Both ends of the handguard were fashioned into a hollowed flame that closely resembled candlelight. An actual flame emitted from the bottom of the pommel. Where the hell did this come from? He shook his head. I'll worry about it later. I should just be thankful right now. Gripping the blade in his hand, he swung it at the pile of debris, slicing everything in half as if they were butter, clearing a way in. He ran in and the sword disappeared as he picked up the girl in his arms. I'm going to get you out of here, he assured the girl as he ran back towards the door. But as he passed the used-to-be bathroom, he saw something in the mirror and stopped. His eyes, they changed. They were the bright green color, just as he saw earlier. What is going on with me? Continuing out the door and towards the stairs, he halted in mid-run as the staircase collapsed. The only way out was now gone. Unless... Spinning around, he dashed into the nearest room and looked out a window to see emergency vehicles lined up around the building. He backed up a couple steps from the window. Hold on. The girl's arms grew tighter around his neck as he ran towards the window, turning his back to it right before impact, and flung himself out and into a free fall. The building window seemed to drift further and further away as he felt his stomach lurching, his heart racing, and his mind hoping to land on the target. Then he felt a sharp pain in his back and heard a loud boom from a cop car's glass and metal colliding against each other. I made it. His sight began to fade into black and he drifted into unconsciousness. There was a steady beeping when he started awake. He opened his eyes and saw the square tiled ceiling above him. Where am I? At the hospital. You took a pretty nasty fall from what I heard. Nearly broke your back and damaged your head. But you had quite a resistance to the fall, it seems. Just a few fractures that will heal in a couple weeks, and a concussion. Man, you are one lucky kid, the doctor said, checking his machines to make sure they were in working condition. The girl, is she okay? Cloukora asked. Yes, she's fine. Not a scratch on her. Watch, you're going to be in the newspaper for your bravery. Heh, it was nothing. Open thought. Did I really just say that? No person in their right mind would do what I did. And thought. Well, think whatever you'd like. I thought you were a hero. Oh, you got family waiting to see you. Should I let them in? Yeah, go ahead. I'm fine now. Rubbing the sand out of his eyes, he sat up in the hospital bed. Slowly, of course. His body was still somewhat in pain from the night before. The doctor walked out, and a few seconds later, his mom, stepdad, dad, uncle, and grandfather walked in. Hey, sweetie, you okay? His mom asked. Yeah, I'm fine, Cloukora replied. Heard you took quite a bit of a fall, his stepdad put in. We decided to get you a few things as a reward, since you were brave and everything, his dad said and handed him 2 gifts. One was a thin square and the other was a cylinder shape. Cloukora opened the thin one to find that it was a Dr. Feelgood album by Motley Crue. Awesome. Thank you, you guys. I couldn't have asked for a better gift. He finally opened the second one. It was a can of No Fear Motherlode energy drink. Well, I guess I could. This should get me on my feet in no time, he said with a grin. Your grandfather and uncle want to talk to you, said his mom. I actually would like to speak with them as well. He sat his gifts to the side of him on his bed so they wouldn't be a distraction. Alright, we'll come back later to check in on you, his mom said as she, his dad, and her new husband stepped out of the room. Okay, what the hell happened? Last thing I remember is Uncle Daniel talking about how our family isn't what it seems. And then I jumped into a flaming building, somehow knowing how and when everything would fall. Then I had a flaming sword in my hand that vanished in a thin air. What the hell is going on? He demanded. His uncle and grandfather sighed before looking at each other. It's best if we just show you. I'll make the preparations. You just rest up. Everything will be clear within a couple of weeks, his grandfather replied. This would have held, but you ran off before I could give it to you, his uncle said as he took out the necklace from last night and tossed it to him. They both started at the door. So what am I supposed to do? Cloukora asked. I think you already know the answer to that. Good luck with deciding on a name, his uncle said as he shut the door behind him. I think I got a name, he said to himself as he looked at the Motley Crue album, then shook his head. Nah, that wouldn't be original. Alright, well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my voice and listening to my story.